A warm welcome back to the Forensics Detailing channel. How you doing? Spring has hit and we're getting some lovely weather. We got like the first blossom on the tree there, which is a really good sign. And I've washed my car down and like brought it in to have a look at how we've got through the winter. Straight away, you can see the sun poking through this little section here. Well, I see swirls. Look at this. That, to me, is really bad. The other day I just demoed like using a detail spray on the dirt without doing a proper wash on it and just like wiping off the dirt, and it did a really good job. But the net result, you see it all on black, don't you, in that extreme sunlight, is that this is now all got all that fine swirling on it. And interestingly, when I go over to my main panels here, these are better, these panels. The sunlight will show more, but these look good. But if I had really extreme light, can you just see a little couple of like love marks there? And that's not good. You know, that just means I've been a little bit clumsy, and I think I know what's caused this. A couple of cloths. I've got lazy and I got into bad habits, and I keep some cloths in here. It's these black ones. It's nothing to do with the cloths itself, but I can use those black cloths in this cupboard just to like wipe down my work surfaces and stuff, and they still get washed and then they get clean. And I used one the other day after it was all clean, but I think it's just because I've used it with the wrong stuff. It's got bits in it now, and normally I keep my microfiber that I use for my paintwork, which might sound a bit stupid, but I usually keep that all separate and all nice and use it for the paintwork. And if I use a microfiber for something really bad, you know, like I really clean dirty stuff with it, it gets bits in it, even if you wash that and it looks good, I don't think you should use it on your paint, at least in my opinion from what I've seen. When you have a black car with really good paint, you start noticing all of the things which put swirls in your paint. And you have to be very careful when you're buffing on the car. You know, that's it, I think. So I think I've accumulated a few fine swirls, nothing major to worry about. But if I take the torch again and just show you, most of the panels are okay. But there's some water spots there. I just need to get them off. But on this bumper, look at the swirls on that bumper there, where it's softer. So the metal bit is generally really good, but the bumper with the softer sort of material that the paint sits on is more prone to scratching. So yeah, it's just little observations. Now, why is none of this a major disaster? Because typically once a year, or maybe a little bit longer, if you're really keeping a car inside and you're keeping it kind of waxed or protected or whatever, ceramic coated or sealed, and you're really washing it regularly and you're not covering, you know, massive miles and all that sort of stuff, generally the contamination build-up isn't a major factor. But on other cars that are less well protected, that contamination builds up and then you kind of have to kind of get rid of it. Ultimately, if you're going to polish, the golden rule is you probably need to clay first. Well, it's not a golden rule, is it? But generally, you know, checking for contamination. So when you go and do that clay, it's quite an intrusive process, and when you're dragging contaminants over your paintwork, you know, you're pulling them off the surface into the clay bar or clay pad, and then you're dragging them over. You put fine swirls on the paint. You just do. So every now and then you need to polish your car, and I always think spring's a good time to do it. It's a shame because the car's got loads of protection still on it. It's really like beady still and hydrophobic, but it just needs that polish now. And my favourite product to do this is still, like, to do what I want it to do, is still this black hole. You've heard me talk about it loads of times. It wouldn't win any comparison tests. It didn't win any comparison tests on my channel. Like, we did a big hand polish thing for the Mega PVD test, and I can't remember where it came. We liked it, but in like sort of testing, it just didn't test as well as other products. But for me, it's so good. And the reason I use this is because of the buff. and it just leaves this silky feel on the paintwork, and it's just easy to buff, and it will take out these light swirls no problem. But it won't remove too much clear coat. In fact, on that, I've got a 6-inch pad on that XFE free spinning machine. I have it at a reasonably low speed or whatever, and I'm just literally using it to almost apply this glaze. Just give it a little bit of a scrub with the machine, and it will take out all of that fine marring. And then your paintwork looks really good. And it just also tidies up the paint, as you've heard me say before. Because sometimes when you wash a car, it was almost like the perfect day to wash. Little bits of dust on it. But sometimes you get like little watermarks or soap stains or whatever. And then you don't worry about it for too long. You don't even notice it over a period of time. But then you might get it in the garage and like look at it and just not be happy with the finish. And the best way to sort that out, usually for me, is just whizzing over with something like Paul Boy's Black Hole. And I'd probably do it more often than you should. You know, the old adage of like really sealing your car in and not touching it for 6 months. That might work for me over the winter, but typically during the summer, I'm bringing the car in, and I really like the car to kind of look at its best, and I like spending time in the garage when it's not cold, when it's like this. And you can just get in the garage, get the music on, listen to the radio and have a cup of tea. And, you know, it's part of our British kind of culture to spend time in a garage doing this stuff. And that's what detailing is all about. So, yeah, it's part of what I like. So I'm just going to make sure that that pad is sort of dust free. Give this a good shake. And then you can just put a little bit on. It is kind of like a kind of waxy type product, all-in-one type thing. So it doesn't like melt and flush out of the pad as well. I'm just going to put a little bit more there just to get it going. But yeah, just a little bit on the pad. And then you've seen, I've done this kind of video many times, but let's just focus on that wing where we've got some really swirly paintwork, and I'll just put that there because you've got a good shot of what I'm doing. I'm not going to be masking up or anything because I'm not really heavily or accurately polishing right the way up to the edges. I'm just kind of going to whiz over this and just tidy up the panel a little bit. You could get the seat out, but I'm not going to bother doing that. We'll go top speed because this machine doesn't have that much power. I've got the pad on really wonky there. Let's just sort that out. Ah. Jesus. Oh, okay. This is the old flex pad. You need a bit more of a gap there. Yeah, that'll do. Okay, and we'll just apply it. We'll just spread it out first. There we go. Is that top speed? I feel like this is going top whack. Machine should be going. Feels really slow. Oh no, okay, yeah, it's going. Okay. And literally, what we've done there, with a soft finishing pad, you know, like a very soft pad, this machine, you can't crank it any higher than that and go fast. And with a big pad, you can't sort of pressure in as much without it stalling, so you're just sort of floating over the top of the paint, if you like, without too much pressure. But what I like about this, you know, you can leave this product for as long as you like, but it's just that one where you, look, I'm not putting any pressure. You can see this, and you just like gently do that, and it just comes off. It's the easiest buff in the world, this poor boy's black hole. It's just, you know, you can just float your fingertips over the paint and it collects it all up. And that's why it's my favourite kind of glazed product. Ooh, slightly deeper scratch there. Never mind, don't go chasing perfection with this. But all I want, I don't want it covered in swirls when that sunlight hits it. I just want it looking good. And like I say, that on its own is as good as it gets. It's as good as it gets. And you see, we've taken that fine hazing out. I know that the sunshine's kind of collapsed in, but this is as good as I can get. But it's taken that very fine haze out now. And back to that kind of really nice kind of, I'm trying to, there will be, if we move around enough, we'll find a swirl. But you can see generally we're back to how your paint should be. Now, of course, every time you go near that paint and touch it and it's dirty and all that, you can put that fine stuff in. But we haven't really removed any significant clear coat there. We've probably just, you know, that type of scratch is what sort of sometimes called spider webbing scratching, that just comes out straight away. But really, with a glaze like that, that's the best way to take that out. Unless you're going on to coat or something, because obviously you don't want to use a glaze beforehand. But if you're using a pure abrasive every single time, or you're going in with a heavy foam pad or something and pressure and a high cut compound, you're cutting your paint, eventually you're going to run out of clear coat. So we're just trying to keep as much as we can on there and do this as quickly as possible. So you saw how long it took to do that top half of the wing. We'll do the bonnet in about 5 minutes. We'll be along this door in about, you know, 5, 10, 15, 20. In about an hour's time, we'll have glazed over this whole car and we'll have good paintwork for the summer then. In terms of protection, John, would you go back over and put something on it? You probably should do, shouldn't you? I would probably look for a water-based product, potentially, because after just getting that paintwork good, I'm less reliant on going over and putting something else on it and waiting half an hour and then buffing it all again. So probably if I was going to put something on there, a water-based product. But this, in its own right, will leave some protection behind. It's not the beadiest, it's not the strongest protection or anything like that, but it's just really good. Well, it's just really good for me anyway. It's weird, isn't it? Because some products are just like your own personal favourites, but don't test well. This product really for me is all about how it delivers you that show finish without having, you know, it's easier to buff than anything, I think. And that's what I think it's known for. And it's just very, very good. And I don't think it's expensive either. I think this 500ml bottle, which I must be about halfway through. I'm down here somewhere. You can't see it, but it's down there somewhere. Yeah, I'll get through this eventually. It's lasted me a fair few years. And I'll go back and buy more. That's a product I can't be without, especially with a black car. If this was a white car or a silver car, these swirls that are showing up in the sun wouldn't even really be visible. It's just, you see everything with black. You know, people say black cars are more difficult to maintain. They're a nightmare to maintain. They're no different to any other car, but you just see everything. So I think having a black car that you care about the paint is a good way just to learn kind of what you're doing that's actually putting in that haze and fine swirling. And you will put it in, I think. I think you will put it in. Is it possible to own a car like this and not put scratches in? I think you would have to you'd have to come up with a good method. You could dry it by air, that might help. But sooner or later, you're going to want to put something on it. You're going to be buffing on it at some point. But yeah, like I say, cars do get swirls, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Yeah, but I will learn from my mistakes. What I won't do again is I won't use those black cloths because they're full of contamination now, and it's that's gonna put the scratches in. So yeah, there we go. And I still don't trust using detail sprays as like waterless washes. I don't think that's a good idea. Maybe for me, maybe you guys have got better techniques or whatever. For me, yeah. You cannot just beat like washing your car. That's like, you know, washing your car is still the most effective way, I think, to get it properly nice. So let me know, have you ever made any mistakes when you're detailing a car? I know some of you, one of the most common one is shooting the car with the nozzle of the jet washer. That's easily done, isn't it? Very easy. I do sometimes pull away and just test, not point at the car, but then sometimes you forget. The classic one I did, wasn't it, was when I had the bench at the front here, along the front, and I knocked the snow foam lance off and it pirouetted it round and smacked into the to the paint. That broke my heart, that did. And it was on camera, doing that on camera. Yeah, I'll have to dig that out, that bit of footage. Having that on camera, yeah, unbelievable. So it's usually a lack of concentration, something falling like this, anything above the car here, the car's in the full blast zone, so if that lance ever fell off there, it would whack the car. So maybe putting the lances down there, in fact I will do that, would be slightly more intelligent, wouldn't it? You know, the most likely thing is my tool will don't tempt fate. It could have pulled itself off the wall, like fall and smash on the car, and then that would be disastrous. Or something can fall down from my little storage shelf up top. Other than that, everything's going okay at the moment, guys. I've been having problems with the Porsche, so it's bloody car. This car, man, it's just the car that keeps taking. You know, ownership should be about getting stuff back. This car just keeps hitting me. It keeps hitting me in the wallet. So at the moment it's off-road, having all of the front suspension rebuilt following hitting a pothole again. It's not actually too bad though. The cost to rebuild the shocks. So it hit on the front offside, so that one there, and it made a banging noise, a massive banging noise, and there was play on that side, and you could see the play in the shock. So the shock needed to be rebuilt, and you've got to rebuild them as a pair. There's no point in rebuilding one because you might have slightly different dampening then. So I've had both front shocks refurbished, which wasn't that expensive. And then it's all got to be put back together again in time for my first track day of the year, which I'm really looking forward to. So other than that, guys, hope all is well. Hope you're getting ready and doing some spring things on your car and enjoying it. And the moral to this story is, yeah, I guess whenever you're touching your paintwork, especially when you're buffing on it, you know, just be careful. Nice clean cloth that you keep separate for polishing is going to be really important, I think, to not put the swirls in the paintwork. Take care. Bye for now. Doug.